Hello again, everybody. It's Harry Boxer, the technical trader at techtrader.com. It's Thursday night, the 25th of August. These are the charts of the day. Well, another nasty pullback extension of the decline and late little bounce. Even though the technicals were much better than the prices indicated, still a little bit worried about further downside, although we could, at this point, get some sort of snapback. We're going to show you some long and some shorts. Today we traded AAOI, and if you take a look at the declining top line, it broke up through it. And it got right up to the resistance from the April highs around 1640, 45, 48 area. Today's high being 1643. So we may get a pullback since it is also the top of the channel. But I think if we do get a momentum follow through, you're going to see 19 short term of this and maybe secondary target up near 22. So that's what I'll be looking for going forward. Let me also point out there's 11.4 days to cover. But the short term shows the top of the channel here. I'm going to update you on AVP, one of our swing trades with the base and the breakout, the breakaway gap. It's been moving up nicely, but in the last week, it's kind of formed a rising wedge. I think, though, that this is ready to make a move, and my target now coming up is going to be 6.5 3/4, and then I'm looking for a move to the top of what looks like a parallel channel up near 8. And it's 4.3 days to cover on that. Brewers Alliance had a big day. Look at this base. Breakout wedge, breakout falling wedge, and then a breakout another wedge. Before yesterday's pop and today's follow through, acting very well in here. The long-term chart shows that there's resistance, all-time highs at about 1870, and today's high was 1889. So we got up to a nominal new all-time high. Oh, that is not true. The highest level at least 20 years anyway. But for starters, you're going to see that if this gets through here, we can accelerate. Keep a close tab on it because it is a bit overbought near the top of the channel and lateral resistance with 6 days to cover. Swing trade CPE edging higher again, made it up to over 14.5 for the first time. This is the highest level reached on Callon since back in 08, 8-year high. And you can see the trend has been perfectly parallel and nicely formed, especially the last 3 weeks where the stock's been up almost every day with a couple of days of consolidation in between. With 5.8 days to cover, I'm feeling this is going to extend 17 and then 19. CWEI, phenomenal, probably the best pick of the year. Has gone from 19 and change to 69.13. That's 50 points. And it's completed 5 waves. But now, even though it's at resistance at multiple tops in here, you can see it's flagging bullshit. It had a reversal day up today from 59 to 65. Closing up 441, and this one looks like it's got more to go, perhaps mid to high 70s. Daktronics, 3 consecutive good days, particularly the breakaway day. Inside day yesterday, another big one today. Up 32 cents to 3.5%, but closing near the upper end of the range and into the gap. We may very well see a gap fill that gets us to about 10, maybe 10.25. That's my near-term target. And if it could spend some time consolidating or setting up, we very well might see 12, 12.25. 10.5 days to cover in that one. MOMO, beautiful large inverse head and shoulders that had a big spike 2 days ago. Pulled back yesterday, but continued again today up 133, almost 7% on 3.9 million. There's 4.5 days to cover. You can see how the neckline's broken. The all-time high was taken out, although it's extremely long-term. I mean, short-term overbought, having gone from under 9 to over 21. This stock still has some energy. NYMX, big news yesterday. A nice follow through today. It pulled back. We find that normal. If we can get a consolidation here for a few days, it may set it up for a move up towards 9, my next target. Rex, big pop out of this swing trade. As you know, it came down for what? 7-8 days in a row before it finally turned. And today it popped big time from 27.5 to 38.41. Closing 30.19 up 264, almost 10%. With 5.7 days to cover, I fully expect at least a test of that double line, which should get this near term to about 31.5. And if we get through that, my target's going to be in the high 30s. There's 5.7 days to cover on that one. Rapid 7, after coming out of the base, has been accelerating. It's at resistance, but it feels to me like this one's going to make it towards 21.22. And there's 10.6 days to cover on that one. And lastly on the long side is workday. This massive inverse head and shoulder today exploded on 9.7 million, up 7.13% or 568. There's still 14.6 days to cover. The feeling here is that this is going to run into the low 90s, 93 range. quick switch to the box of short side. Alexion. You can see the downtrend remains, but the recent rising channel was broken to the downside. Targets are 122 and 113, and then we're headed potentially lower. BJRI Restaurants, after the rollover, you can see the down channel, head and shoulders here, neckline test, test, and test, and roll over. And then the bear flag, looking for 35 and 33, 32. ESRX, massive big top. There's a 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fifth wave started today with a smack of 460 or 6%. There's 8 days to cover, but they may be right this time. Looks to me like the bottom down back in here could be challenged around 61, even as low as 57. FLO got hammered, wedged, hammered, and mini wedge. Looks to me like we're looking for 12. G3, the apparel group, after breaking its major uptrend and forming a wedge, it came down and formed a flag, and then it came down and formed another flag. I still think we're looking at 31.2. LifePoint. Well, the massive top may have been completed. The stock got hammered, formed a wedge, and it's coming down now. Should it take this out here, around that level, I'd be looking for it. Number one, 49.5, 50, and then 44.5. Luxoft, the stock I gave you a couple months ago, finally rolled over, bounced, and rolled over again. Still, I think that it could be headed for a move down towards 37, 38 short term if it breaks the double bottom, which comes in around 46.5, 47. Let's call it 40. Yeah, 46.5. Below that, the stock could fall away into the 36.7 zone. Swing short MIK finally broke today, dropping $1.15 or 4.4%. Looks to me like it's headed lower. My target's at 23 and 20. Norwegian Caribbean lines rolled over, snapped back to the neckline, got hammered, formed a wedge, broke down, formed a little mini wedge, and that broke. Looks like we may be headed, probably 30, 31. ROG, big rising channel, big breakdown, snap back to the neckline, or should I say the trend line. Then test, 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 and breakdown. After this break, it formed a bear wedge. This appears to be going lower. My target is a fill or a test of the gap between 47 and 48, and eventually something in the low 40s. SIG got hammered and held today, down 12.06, and even that's about 3 points off the low when it was down nearly 15. Closed down 12.6%. But as you can see from my talks over the last week, that this rising wedge three-wave corrective got near the prior lows, gapped down and got creamed today. I wouldn't be in a rush to short it now, but any move under 77, and we can see that stock coming down into the mid-60s. TMH, breaking down, rolling over. You can see how the big trend was broken there. Hard drop, rising wedge, three-wave corrective, and then another hard drop to test support. Something I think eventually gets down towards 25.6, but let's look for some bounce to get a better entry up. And WBMD, well, that's a pretty ugly looking short. You can see how it broke the trend, came down hard, waiting for it to bounce, but it wasn't bouncing. All it's doing is flagging here. Looks like downside pressure is going to take this to 45. And folks, that's it for me this evening. Have a good evening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night.